Hi everyone, I'm Britt.
And I'm Jax.
And this is Nerdorina, where we talk about all things nerdy, and we usually have a nice warm cup of tea.
And today we're talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Okay, so Pokemon Sword and Shield came out yesterday. At time of recording, it came out today at midnight. So
That's right.
I went to the midnight release and I picked up a copy of Pokemon Sword. You got to play it for the first time today when we got together. Yeah. So what were your initial reactions to it?
My initial reactions, I'll frame where I'm coming from. The last time I seriously gung-ho played Pokemon was back in Sapphire, which was
that's a while ago.
Yeah, the last thing I did was get Kyogre, and so this was quite the treat. Going from that aerial, seeing the entire map before you go there, above view to a very nice third person view that's a little more
updated.
Everything's a little more three-dimensional.
Yeah,
you can see the Pokemon now.
Yes. Yeah, they're not
in the wild
4 pixels that are supposed to resemble.
Well, true.
Oh, you mean in the wild? Yeah.
They're running around in the grass. That threw me for a loop. I played a little bit of Let's Go Eevee, I think. No, we have Let's Go Pikachu.
I feel like Let's Go was kind of this novelty, really different kind of Pokemon game, and it was Gen 1, so we knew what to expect and what you were going to do and all that kind of stuff, so none of that was new, but it was this new kind of dynamic to playing Pokemon. And Sword and Shield definitely goes, there are definitely a lot of new things in this, but it goes back to our more traditional style of playing Pokemon, where you're not physically throwing the Pokeballs, or it's your normal battle style. You battle a Pokemon down and then choose your Pokeball item and throw it at the Pokemon. So it's more reminiscent of traditional Pokemon that we know and love from childhood. And so we played your first playthrough. I was there for it, and I was actually doing my makeup to start filming, and I'm overhearing her playing the game, and all of her commentary for the game was so hilarious. I'm trying to concentrate doing my makeup, and I'm hysterical laughing the whole time. So you had some funny initial reactions to the game.
One thing that really got me was how clunky the initial dialogue was. Jackie even talked about it before I even started playing, and I was it can't be that bad.
It just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I'm not gonna call it bad, but I'm reading it and I'm just this is maybe translated poorly or what. It was just rubbed me the wrong way is really the perfect way for me to describe it. It was just awkward feeling.
Yeah, in my not professional opinion, it really felt like a translation, either from Japanese or whatever, of phrases that they thought they would speak in England, or very British phrases.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that they were saying, they weren't consistent with. It took me 20 minutes to leave the first house. I won't lie, because I was running around.
You're having fun with it though.
I was talking, interacting with every object in the room, and one thing I noticed immediately was if the creators of the game picked a particular slang to use, let's say telly for the television. If they picked a particular slang to use, they weren't consistent with it. And it wasn't necessarily between different characters' dialogue, because then you could just say that's individual preference. But when you would walk up to a TV, your character's internal description would be, "Oh, my mom's telly that she watches dramas on," which there's a lot of passive-aggressive descriptions about her mother, which makes you wonder what the greater context was there. So in the same room, it would reference a telly, then across the room it would be a TV, and then in the other room it would be a television,
Oh, like literal different uses of like dialect, but from the same point of view.
Yes, from the same narration.
Interesting. I don't think I picked up on that in my playthrough.
And granted, I don't think anyone's playing Pokemon for the high Shakespearean element of it. But I guess to me, as an adult audience, it's a little distracting. That and the fact that your rival Hop is just ridiculous.
He's so ridiculous.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the pose that he gets in every time he gets excited about something. It's like this ridiculous, he like squats down and he's like...
I've been like nitpicking the like descriptions of like the character, but as ridiculous as Hop is, he'll randomly drop these one-liners that don't make sense.
I completely agree with
you. He'll say things where you kind of get the gist of it, but if you break down the words, you're like, what does that quite mean?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head.
One of the characters said, "Your pants at directions."
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like pants. Like
not
clothing.
They weren't addressing the other character's pants. They were calling them pants.
Like, you are pants at directions.
You are pants at directions.
And I was like, what does that mean?
Like, if anybody here is like versed in the dialect that this game's trying to emulate, please let us know in the comments what calling someone pants is. But as far as
like in context, it sounded bad. It sounded like you were bad at directions. Like but if that's an actual phrase that people use, please let me know down in the comments because then I'm going to start using it. Because I am pants at directions.
Well, here's the thing that like gets me is that like in England and whatever, no one says they're wearing pants, they're wearing trousers. Because pants references underwear. So I don't know if, like, I still haven't fully figured out.
So you're underpants at directions.
Another thing that absolutely killed me was the starter Pokemon each have a super specific personality.
Yeah.
Like, I know they've tried to push that a little bit previously, but usually it's just like stereotypical fire, grass, water. This one's gone and taken it to a personality level instead of just a generic
I kind of love it too. And actually in the like little clip where you are, the cutscene, that's what they're called, not a clip, where you're getting your starter Pokemon, they're not in like just in Pokeballs and you like pick them and figure out who they are and that like in how they are in older games, but I'm sorry there's a dog barking if you hear that, as my upstairs neighbor's dog, but they're like kind of out and there's this little animation of them kind of like playing in the yard and it like really shows off their personalities, like, and I really like the personality aspect of it. I chose Scorbunny, and I don't typically choose the fire starter.
Like, oh, really?
Traditionally, I just don't usually choose the fire starter. I like just loved the kind of like bouncy, happy personality, and I was like, this just like it looks so cute. Like I can't say no to this. So I really like the like addition of personalities and like showing the personalities and in the like picking process of the starters.
Yeah, and the scene Jackie's talking about, the 3 Pokemon are released in this cute little backyard scene, and there is a small clearing area, a water area, and a tree area, and in that tiny little zone, all 3 of the Pokemon quickly interact in a really cute skit that shows you how emotional... What's his name?
Sobble.
Sobble. His name, he's aptly named. How emotional and how feeling Sobble is. How inquisitive and explorative Grookey is. And how ready to go and amped up and excited Scorbunny is. So it's really neat how in like no time at all you get to like personally connect with them instead of like getting like the line of dialogue you get when you walk up to each Pokeball in previous generations.
Yeah, I also really like in that same scene they both like showcase their personalities as well as show you type advantage.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's like a little cycle of like their little animation also explains the circle of type advantage between water, fire, and grass, which I really, really liked a lot as well. As a person who maybe doesn't know that, if you like caught on to that little animation, it would kind of explain to you like around those three how type advantage works. And I really enjoyed that. I liked it a lot. It stood out to me in my playthrough. I really liked that whole opening a lot, actually.
I didn't even get to this part, but Jackie was talking about the open world mechanic to me earlier. Yeah. And that's really neat.
So from like a gameplay standpoint, I do love a lot of the little like changes they've made. The open world system, I love a lot. It's actually, I don't know if anyone's ever played Ni no Kuni 2, but I felt it was very reminiscent of that game, where your cities are a little more guided and like directed, and then you go out kind of into the wild and it's, you know, like free reign. And I also thought it was very interesting. So again, I've only encountered the like first wild area of the game right before you go to the first town after your hometown. And I was running into, so you know, when you leave your first town, your Pokemon are like, maybe you get your starter up to like level 10, and you've caught a couple other Pokemon that are like maybe like the low single digits. And then by the time I worked my way through that wild area to the first city, I had a couple in the like low teens. So it's pretty much straight line to your first city from where you have to go. And I kind of explored a little bit like off to the left and right of the city. And I was immediately running into Pokemon that were like levels like 30. And like obviously my team wasn't handling that, and they were just wild Pokemon, so I was just running from them, and like I was like, I'll deal with these when I'm stronger. But it did kind of spook me a little bit, some of the trainers that I was noticing off to the side. Like I was like, oh, I don't want to get myself into a trainer fight that I can't handle, so I was kind of avoiding them and stuff. So it was very interesting that like you're kind of can wander off in the wrong direction and like end up with some like very strong Pokemon. And again, like you had said earlier, the Pokemon are like visible in the grass. So when you're running around in the grass, you can kind of like go for what you want and like be like, okay, I already caught this, so I'm gonna avoid it. Kind of dynamic. But there are exclamation points that appear every so often while you're running around in the grass. And from some of the limited reading that I've done on the game, those are going to be like stronger or more rare Pokemon, or Pokemon with like better specs.
Right, and you don't see Pokemon, you just see exclamation.
Yeah, you just see an exclamation point. And a couple times I went up to them and they were a completely different Pokemon that I hadn't seen in that patch of grass, and a couple times they were just a like higher level version of a Pokemon that I have run into before. So that was kind of interesting. And in the open world, there's also the like, what is it, the Dynamax kind of mechanic that they've included.
They didn't call them raids, but from what it sounds like, it's in that kind of direction.
Yeah, it sounds like if you play Pokemon Go, it's like a raid in Pokemon Go. That's what it kind of sounds like it's going to be. I haven't done any of them yet, but they kind of appear in the world as these like red pillars of light, and you can battle the Pokemon, and you can invite friends to battle with you, and then you get a chance to catch the Pokemon after you battle the Pokemon. So it does seem very similar to the like raid mechanic that they have in Pokemon Go, and I thought that was interesting too. But I haven't tried any yet, so I'm not sure.
One thing watching you play that I thought was really neat is I loved how the AI for the Pokemon running around was like at a higher caliber.
They interact with you as a player, so they're not gonna like pursue you if you run away, but if they notice you, so there is like kind of a sneaking mechanic. If you're in the grass, if you walk as opposed to run through, they might not notice you. But if they notice you, they will run towards you, which I think is a cool mechanic, because it's always been described as like a Pokemon like attacking you. Like you run into a wild Pokemon and they attack you. So this is kind of like what it actually looks like, because you can see the Pokemon now, so they do kind of run after you.
Yeah, and it's really neat. If you like back off when they advance, they'll like stop and stare at you for a minute. Like they don't just immediately go back to like moseying around in their predetermined L shape. If you run up to them and they run towards you and you back off, they won't like recede immediately. If you get closer again,
it's interesting.
It's very organic, and I do really like that. That makes that really smooth. Yeah, and just by watching her play,
like they're curious about you is kind of what it feels like. I like it a lot.
It feels a lot more like wild. The feel that Pokemon really gives you. And watching her play, that kind of like camera angle in this 3D open world, it kind of reminded me of in Dragon Quest 7 or 8. I don't know if you've played it, but essentially, this game came out a little while ago. I played it when I was like an older kid. And so in the open world, it reminds me a lot about Dragon Quest because of that nice little animated, very detailed in 3D, but still animated feel, where you can run around and get in random encounters. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
And then to the city design, it reminded me a lot about like
the
Persona.
cities are gorgeous.
Yeah, like Persona 5 when you're, Persona 5 is a lot bigger open world in your cities, but the way it's set up and the feel of it was very similar to what I saw in that first city. You mentioned to me that knocked out Pokemon can still get experience.
Yes, so I didn't have any fainted Pokemon after I started to notice this, but I am pretty sure that fainted Pokemon still gain XP from battles as long as they're in your party.
And that's just as weird to me as
that bothers me a little bit.
When you could use, if you had a knocked out Pokemon that knew a special move like Cut or Fly, you could still use it when they were knocked out.
Yeah. I feel like it feels a little broken to do that.
I guess a devil's advocate, this just came out of nowhere. If you were like a boxer and you got completely hosed in a match, you still practice.
Yeah.
You got something out of it.
I mean, maybe. And I also haven't noticed if they get less XP if they're fainted.
Oh.
Compared to what they would normally get if they had lived through the battle. So I don't know that either.
Interesting. I have a really weird, I haven't fully developed my opinion yet on this, but it's really interesting how certain elements of this generation seem like considerably easier on the player, while on the flip side, certain things seem considerably harder. Like considerably easier being you get XP share off the bat, everybody gets XP. The move deleter and remember, that's definitely, and the nickname changer
at your disposal.
At your disposal, you can do that. But then on top of it, when you run around in the open world, it's kind of like a Pokemon Dark Souls. If you wander down the wrong path, you end up facing something that you are definitely not ready to fight yet.
Yeah, I definitely went down, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, that like I definitely went down another turn just to explore a little more, and I was running into like 31, 32 Pokemon, and my team was like 12, 13.
And that is in the first open wild area.
Yeah, the very first open wild area that you encounter, like you can run into like that high level of Pokemon. And there's also sporadically, not in the grass, just like kind of walking around on the path will be like an evolved Pokemon. And when you run into that one, you get a little like dialogue that like you've run into a very strong blah blah whatever the Pokemon is. And that is usually many levels up also. So I find like that difficulty level is interesting. Like if you wanted to take on these like more intense battles, like you probably could, like with 6 Pokemon versus 1 high level Pokemon, you could probably do it eventually. That's
really cool though. It kind of like makes grinding, like it gives more appeal to grinding. Instead of just grinding until you can't stomach seeing another Pidgey or another Zigzagoon.
Yeah.
You're grinding until you can take out that one guy walking on that path from like point A to point B between the towns. In previous generations, at least in what I've played, it's been a more linear, like, all right, you just get through this. You catch the 3 or 4 new Pokemon on this one path, but, you just get through it. Pick up some berries from this tree. You made it. Look for the, like, item that's hiding somewhere. And then you go on to the next gym.
Yeah.
But this kind of makes it so that there's more enticement, there's more of a reward for hanging out there.
Kind of challenge aspect of it. Being able to, like, work harder and battle harder enemies and things like that is like really interesting, I think, and I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I have to play more because again, like I like would panic and run away from them, so I haven't really like played with the dynamic of trying to battle them and seeing how I do, kind of.
When I would grind between the towns, I would get to a point where you kind of know what the level of the next area is going to be. You'd be like, okay, I'm like 5-ish levels above it, I'm fine. And then you go on to the next level and you more or less guess correctly and you're more or less in the right level range. But if they have all of these new, like a higher range of levels in between worlds, it kind of makes you guess a little bit more about what you're going to face, and you don't know what the gyms are going to look like until you get there.
Yeah. And the other thing that comes to mind, like as we were talking about this kind of occurred to me, that is it really open world, or is it like open world adjacent, but they're tuttling you via these harder Pokemon to go the right way?
Well, I guess the argument could be made for that, but it's a little bit, to me, it's completely open world because in the previous games, no matter how many times you ran into the wall, there's a wall there.
Yeah,
and you gotta go to the next town.
I understand, like it is definitely an open world. You can run wherever you want, but I'm sure within reason. But is it like pseudo forcing you to still follow a specific path? And again, it goes back to kind of, are you gonna go that like play style of fighting harder things to take the grinding out of it and get your whole team higher via fighting 1 or 2 higher level Pokemon versus having to fight 35 lower level Pokemon to get your team?
Oh, and yeah, no, that's making me think about, you see level 30s and such in this area, but until you get your next level gym badge, you can only catch up to 20.
True.
And as Jackie found out, you can't even challenge the first gym. You show up.
Yeah, similar to Gen 1.
Similar to Gen 1. And they go, oh, you gotta go to these other 2 towns and challenge them before you can get us. And so that is actually, I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to say it's a little more linear, because if you can't even catch those guys, then
that's true.
You definitely have to go forward.
That didn't even occur to me.
One thing that I really liked in Sapphire that I haven't quite seen yet is a lot of like the extracurriculars you can do. Oh. like the beauty contest, or like making like the berry cubes or whatever they were called. That was the funnest thing. I wasted so much time sitting at those like stores, like throwing berries in that twirly thing. Like that stuff I loved.
In the Pokemon centers, there's like this kiosk, and it's like a Rotom kiosk. And one of the categories, which I haven't opened up yet, but I definitely want to look into, is like Pokejobs is a category. So when I initially saw it, I was like, oh, is this like side quests, like a real open world game? Like, are there side quests in it? So I did see that, and I am excited to explore that more, because it does kind of feel like maybe there are like side quests built into the game. Right. So when you start up a Pokemon game, what is, like, you open up a brand new Pokemon game, you're like excited to try a new thing, like what is the thing that you most look forward to?
I look forward to just like settling into the world, feeling it. That's probably why I spent like 40 minutes in the first town.
That's fair.
Just like
I was teasing you about it, but
running around, looking at the flowers, talking to everybody. Yeah. I just love just settling into the character and the world, and if it's a good game, that's a plus. But, it's just, I've just been playing Pokemon my whole life, so it's just like, when a new one comes out that I get to play, I just, everything else turns off. Yeah. And I can just run around and catch Pokemon. Yeah.
See, I'm the complete opposite. I kind of like go gung-ho into catching Pokemon. Like especially when we get a new region, so Let's Go was not really, like, I liked Let's Go a lot, but it wasn't a new region. It wasn't any new Pokemon. So it was less exciting for me. I kind of just ran around and caught the Pokemon that I knew I wanted.
Yeah.
as opposed to like discovering what the new Pokemon are.
Oh yeah, Let's Go was a nostalgia trip.
Yeah. And it was great. I loved it. But this one, like getting another new region again, like I was like, yes, like new Pokemon, like that's my favorite thing. Every time a new gen comes out, I always make a full team of entirely the new Pokemon. I don't use any of the repeats. And every game of Pokemon I play, I pick a theme that I'm going to nickname all of my Pokemon. So this playthrough, I've decided to do like herbs and spices. So my starter Scorbunny, I named Cayenne. I have, I forget the name of the Pokemon already. This is the problem with nicknaming my Pokemon.
You just never learn
is
that.
I forget the names of the actual Pokemon, but there's like an electric type, basically corgi looking Pokemon, and I named him Lemon Zest. So that's like my favorite part of the game, like getting right into catching the Pokemon, like coming up with fun nicknames for them, which ultimately leads to me not knowing the names of the Pokemon, but it's still like I completely enjoy that aspect of Pokemon.
Sword and Shield. You bought Sword.
I did buy Sword.
Why did you buy Sword?
I don't have a good reason for why I bought Sword. So Addison and I generally split a Pokemon game. He wanted Sword. I don't actually know why he wanted Sword. I think he likes the Legendary better in Sword.
That, and in one of them there's Surfetched, which is the Farfetch, and then the other one is the special region Ponyta.
I think that's all we really have to say so far about the game. Again, we haven't gotten very far in it.
Considering I have one whole Pokemon.
Yeah, and I haven't even done the first gym yet. So let us know down in the comments if you would like an update video after we've played more of the game. And also let us know which starter Pokemon you chose and which game you got and why. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more fun, nerdy topics and chat with us. And we will catch you in the next one.
Bye!